Welcome to According to Sam, folks. This is episode 216. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching and listening. So a few weeks ago, I made an analogy about the 2024 election, the race between Joseph Biden and Donald Trump. And I related it to the movie Gladiator. And I said that what is going on is what you see going on in this election is like what happens at the end of the movie Gladiator when the character that is played by Joaquin Phoenix, he's playing Commodus, who is a real Roman emperor. Commodus goes into the slave quarters where he has Maximus, who is played by Russell Crowe. Maximus is a fictional character, but he goes into the quarters there, and he has Maximus tied up, and he challenges Maximus to a fight in the arena in front of all of the people, so all of the people could see how great Commodus is. But before they go into the arena, he punctures Maximus in the side, so he's bleeding out and he's wounded in the fight. But the people in the crowd that are there in the arena, that are there for the bread and circuses, and the term bread and circuses comes from the reign of Commodus. They're there enjoying the spectacle, and they have no idea that Maximus is bleeding out. They have no idea that it's not a fair fight. I want to start today's podcast with the clip from the movie Gladiator, and we'll get started talking about today's podcast.
Striking story. Now that people want to know how the story ends, only a famous death will do. And what could be more glorious than to challenge the Emperor himself in the great arena?
You would fight me?
Why not? Do you think I'm afraid?
Yeah, you're afraid. So in the analogy in this that I'm giving in this election and this scene in this movie, Donald Trump is Maximus. Donald Trump is looking at Joe Biden and says, do you really want to fight me? And Joe Biden is saying, you think I'm afraid to fight you? Joe Biden's talking all of the tough talk, like he really wants to go into the arena fair and square with Maximus. But everybody knows if Commodus goes into the arena fair and square with Maximus, that Maximus is going to destroy Commodus. Just like Donald Trump, if he went into the political arena with Joe Biden and it was fair and square, Donald Trump would destroy Joe Biden. So what Joe Biden has to do is he has to make it look like to everyone else that this is all fair, but then he's going to take his advantage, as Commodus does here in this scene.
You've been afraid all your life.
Unlike Maximus the Invincible, who knows no fear.
Are you a man who once said death smiles at us all? All a man can do is smile back.
I wonder, did your friend smile at his own death?
You must know. He was your father.
You loved my father, I know. But so did I. That makes us brothers, doesn't it? Smile for me now, brother.
This is what Biden's doing right there. That's what Biden's doing right there to Trump. Smile for me, brother. That's what he's doing. That's what Joe Biden is doing. Also made an analogy about the story of David and Goliath. And I said that that's another analogy that's fitting for this election, because Joe Biden in that analogy is Goliath, because he has everything on his side. He has the media on his side. He has the Justice Department on his side. He has the DAs in the blue states on his side, like what you just saw that happened in New York. He has the judges like Judge Merchan, who presided over the case where Trump was just convicted. He has all of that. He has big business. I mean, so in one sense, Biden is the strong man because he has, all of the powers behind him, but he's also a very weak leader. They are running everything. The New World Order is running everything through Joe Biden because he's such a weak leader. They like having Joe Biden there because Joe Biden's easy to control. And you see it. He's not in charge of anything. He'll tell you that I'm not allowed to answer this questions. They won't let me do press conference. He's controlled. He's the puppet, basically. And they're running everything through him. So in the analogy of David and Goliath, he is the Goliath because he has all of the powers, the entire system of the deep state behind him. But in this analogy, in this movie analogy where Commodus is challenging Maximus, he's Commodus and he's weak and he has to wound Donald Trump because he can't fight Donald Trump fairly, because if he fights Donald Trump fairly, he's sure to lose. So he has to make it look like it's a fair fight, but he conceals the wound. Take a listen.
Strap on his armor. Conceal the wound.
Strap on his armor. Conceal the wound. That's what Joe Biden's doing. Strap on his armor. Conceal the wound. So that's what they're doing to Donald Trump. That's what's going on in this election. That they're wounding Donald Trump. They're not fighting a fair fight, and they're trying to conceal what they are doing to this guy, and then they go out into the arena in front of everybody and try to act like it's a fair fight. It's not a fair fight at all. It's really interesting that this controversy with Samuel Alito in the Supreme Court. And the controversy, it's not a real controversy, but Democrats are trying to make it a controversy. Everyone can see right through this. It is so transparent that the Supreme Court is getting ready to rule on if Trump has immunity or not. And it's going to be a huge ruling because it's going to impact the special counsel, the Jack Smith January 6th case. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to get Samuel Alito to recuse himself from that case. So they feel like they have a better chance. It's most likely going to be a 5-4 decision. We'll see. But they're using flags that he flew at his house and at his beach house, and saying that because he was flying these flags, he should recuse himself. That's crazy. That's crazy. Did Judge Merchan recuse himself in the Trump trial? They wouldn't recuse themselves. They would never recuse themselves. He didn't recuse himself. No, he had tons of bias and tons of conflicts of interest where he should have recused himself. He didn't recuse himself. Why would Samuel Alito recuse himself? And they see right through it. The head of the Judiciary Committee, Dirty Dick Durbin, wrote a letter to John Roberts, and said he wants to meet with John Roberts. We want to talk about Samuel Alito and all this stuff. And Roberts, told him, look, I don't have time for that. We're a separate branch of government. No, I'm not going to meet with you. So there's all this controversy over that. And it's really interesting. It's really interesting what you see going on, because Joe Biden comes out today after this verdict that was handed down on Trump, and saying, that this is really dangerous if we are saying that the jury was rigged and that this trial was rigged, and you are, instilling doubt into our judicial system. And at the same time, they're telling everyone because Samuel Alito flew these flags that he can't rule on Trump's immunity, or that he should recuse himself. At the same time that they're saying that Trump is instilling doubt in the judiciary because he's saying that this sham trial in New York was rigged, but they're instilling doubt in the judiciary and have been, for years, definitely going back to the Dobbs decision. And even before that, going back to Bush v. Gore in 2000, they have been instilling doubt in the Supreme Court, same judiciary. So these people are so corrupt. But we are in the last days of the empire, people. If you know the story, the real story of Commodus, and how Commodus became emperor after his father, Marcus Aurelius, died. Marcus Aurelius was the last of the 5 good emperors in a period of time known as Pax Romana, the one of the happiest times and places to be on earth was to be a Roman citizen during the time of Pax Romana. But at the end of Pax Romana, when Marcus Aurelius dies, his son becomes emperor. And this guy was a very bad leader. I've often equated Commodus to Joe Biden. Excuse me. Often, because there's so many parallels. But Commodus he's eventually assassinated. In the year after he's assassinated, there's 5 emperors. Because once you break the seal, when Commodus is assassinated, it's the first time that a Roman emperor is assassinated, and someone seizes power in that fashion in over 100 years. Going back to after Nero committed suicide in the 1st century, there hadn't been a murder and a seizing of the empire like that in over 100 years. So the succession of one emperor from Nerva to Hadrian to who am I forgetting? Antonin Pius to Marcus Aurelius and Lucius. I know I'm forgetting one in there, but from emperor to emperor, it was always a smooth succession through, and that's what gave you the period of Pax Romana, which means the peace of Rome. But when Commodus was assassinated, and the seal is broken, and people start seeing that, look, that this is a free-for-all now. You had 5 emperors in that following year that seized power. Septimus Severus becomes emperor, and he cools things down for a short period of time. But by that time, it was already too late. Within 25 years of Commodus being assassinated, Rome is in the middle of the crisis of the 3rd century. The crisis of the 3rd century was marked by migration that was uncontrollable, the open borders, the Goths coming into Rome, the debasement of the currency, huge economic problems, the succession problems. This is the decline of the Roman Empire. And that's what you see going on here in the United States. We are in the last days of the American Empire when what you see going on with what happened. I mean, that's just one example. What happened yesterday in New York in that sham trial. All these cases against Trump. I mean, going after him, your political rival, just because you can't beat him fair and square in the arena. You can't beat him. Commodus could never beat Maximus fair and square in the arena. Joe Biden could never beat. So they have to wound him. And that's what all of this is about. That's what the trial in New York was about. That's what all of these cases were about. You know, this, it's interesting, these flags that Alito were flying. I think that they're very apropos. Both of them. A lot of people after the verdict yesterday were sharing the upside down American flag, which is a nautical sign that means that my vessel is in distress. And the vessel is absolutely in distress. It's very apropos, that flag. And then the other one at his beach house, the appeal to heaven flag. Boy, you better be appealing to heaven right now. You better be appealing to heaven. Because these are the last days of the empire. So Byron Donalds was on CNN. I think this was this morning. And this CNN talking head challenges, because Byron Donalds is going on about how corrupt this case was in New York, and it was a sham and all political. And the CNN talking head challenges him and says, well, wait a minute. This is the same Justice Department that is, you know, you're talking about Joe Biden, and there's no proof. She says there's no proof that Joe Biden had anything to do with this case in New York. It's ridiculous. I'm going to show that to you. But she says that Joe Biden's Justice Department, to prove that they're fair, they're even indicting Joe Biden's son. Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, is being indicted by this Justice Department. I want you to take a listen to this clip.
Real quick, but I know that you said Joe Biden is twisting the law into knots and has spoken out against the Justice Department and things you've said, though no evidence that Joe Biden has anything to do with a criminal case in New York. But even just talking about the Department of Justice, this is the same Department of Justice, if you're speaking out against it, saying that it's biased and unfair, that's twisting the law into knots, that is also taking Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, to trial next week.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. The only reason why the Department of Justice is prosecuting Hunter Biden is because House Republicans actually investigated what was going on with Hunter
Absolutely.
Biden.
I mean, you can say that, but that also shows, that also suggests impartiality on the part of...
You guys tried to give him a plea deal. You guys tried to give him a plea deal at first, and the plea deal blew up because they went in front of a judge in Florida, like Byron Donalds is getting ready to tell you, and the judge blew up the plea deal because she asked Hunter Biden directly if this deal was going to cover all of his cases that he's being investigated for, and he didn't know, and she said that she wasn't going to accept the plea deal. But see how these guys are? I mean, you don't know this, CNN talking head, that they had a plea deal to try to let Hunter Biden off. And Hunter Biden, even though that he is being indicted next week, he's not being indicted for FARA violations, for foreign agent, for acting as a foreign agent. He's not being indicted for that. You know, it's really interesting that Donald Trump was impeached for asking Volodymyr Zelensky to assist in an open Justice Department investigation into Hunter Biden. At the time in 2019, when Donald Trump is having this conversation with Zelensky, asking him, and if you listen to the transcript, there's a transcript that you can read, but there's been some reenactments of the transcripts that you can listen to. Vice did one. It's on YouTube, where they read through the transcript. One person is playing the part of Zelensky, someone playing the part of Trump, and they're, acting like it's a real phone call. Or you can read the transcript, whatever. It's right there in the transcript that Donald Trump, tells Zelensky that I want you to work with the attorney general, who was William Barr at the time. And he says, that I want you to work with the attorney general on this open case against Hunter Biden. The case was already open onto Hunter Biden. The cases that he's going to court for next week, the cases that he's still being investigated for, supposedly slow-walked investigations, the FAIR violations, the gun charge, the tax charge, all these other charges. So they tried to do a plea deal to let Hunter Biden off, and the judge in Florida blew up the plea deal. She's trying to act like, well, that just because Hunter Biden's coming to trial next week for a lesser charge, not even, he hasn't been charged for the FARA violations, which are the more serious charge that, the DOJ is doing everything to cover up for Hunter Biden. This is ridiculous. These are the last days of the empire.
Out against it, saying that it's biased and unfair, that's twisting the law into knots, that is also taking Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, to trial next week.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. The only reason why the Department of Justice is prosecuting Hunter Biden is because House Republicans actually investigated what was going on with Hunter Biden.
Yeah, you can say that, but that also suggests impartiality on the part of
impartiality.
You raise a good point.
It also suggests impartiality on the part of the
Department of Justice into looking into Hunter Biden. They tried to shove this gun charge into some other charge underneath it, and it took a judge in Florida to look at the indictment of the agreement that the main justice negotiated with Hunter Biden's attorneys, to look at that and says, this is a joke. I'm not signing this. And that is the only reason why that prosecution is going forward. But let's take a step away from Hunter Biden. Joe Biden's in violation of the Espionage Act. That's what Robert Hur said in his documents. But the only reason he's not prosecuting is because he says he's an elderly gentleman.
That's true. That's true. The other thing about the Donald Trump impeachment, this is the point that I wanted to make, is because they said that because Donald Trump was asking Zelensky to assist the attorney general. Now, if Hunter Biden is being investigated for acting as a foreign agent, then asking a foreign country to help out in that investigation kind of makes sense. If he's being investigated for acting as a foreign agent in Ukraine, you need the Ukrainian government to assist in the investigation. Everything that Trump did was legal in that phone call. Asking Zelensky, hey, the attorney general is going to be giving you a call. He's got an open investigation into Joe Biden's son for acting as a foreign agent. I want you to work with the attorney general and assist him. That was the phone call. If you read the transcript, you listen to the transcript. But they impeached him. The reason why they impeached him, though, this is the point that I want to get to. The reason why they impeached him is because they said that what Trump was doing in that phone call was election interference. That Donald Trump was interfering in the election because at that time, Joe Biden, I don't even know that Joe Biden had even declared his nomination. He may have been leading in the polls at that time as the leading nominee in 2019. And even if he had declared, Joe Biden lost the first two primaries. Joe Biden, there was nothing that was, in stone at that time that Joe Biden was going to be the nominee. But just because he was leading in the polls and he was the number one candidate out of how many candidates they have in the Democratic primary in 2020, something like, 12, 15? But he's the leading guy is what they said. And Trump was trying to dirty him up by asking Zelensky to aid in an open investigation into his son. Dirty him up is what Peter Schiff said. Dirty him up. dirty him up is that's what Peter Schiff said, or Adam Schiff, not Peter Schiff. Sorry, Peter. Adam Schiff. That's what Adam Schiff said, is that Donald Trump asking Zelensky to aid in an open investigation into Joe Biden's son in 2019, when Joe Biden, is just beginning his run, maybe leading in the polls, far from being the actual nominee. Trump was trying to dirty him up. Trump is the Republican nominee. I mean, Trump was the leading candidate when all of these cases were brought against him. How's that not dirtying Trump up? How's that not dirtying Trump up, people? This is a sham. This entire thing is a sham. I really didn't want to get into this Trump trial and this hush money election interference trial, this sham trial in New York where Trump was just convicted. And I had this whole other podcast that I had lined up. We're going to get into some of that stuff, but I really want to cover this whole Stormy Daniels case and the hush money and this entire trial. I'm not going to spend a lot of time of it on this, but I mean, it's going to probably take up the remainder of the podcast, and then I'm not even talk about what we'll do on Monday, because who knows what's going to happen this weekend. But the thing about this whole Stormy Daniels situation and the whole narrative around this hush money trial and Trump and Stormy Daniels, the problem that I have with it is this woman. And I really try to pride myself on this podcast by telling you stuff that nobody else is telling you, pointing things out that nobody else is pointing things or pointing out to you. And nobody has talked about Jessica Drake in this entire scenario. Nobody's talked about her. You see this picture of Jessica Drake in front of the Wicket banner here. This is obviously a booth at the celebrity golf course where Donald Trump met this woman, Jessica Drake, and then also Stormy Daniels. And you can see this picture of Trump and Stormy Daniels. This is the picture of Trump and Stormy Daniels here. Let's see if there's another one. I don't think there is another one that I can find. But I wish you could show the whole picture. She's wearing this black dress. I'm going to show you more of this picture, because this picture is everything. There would be no story for Stormy Daniels without this picture. This picture is all she's ever had. When she came out in the beginning and started telling this story about her and Donald Trump at this golf tournament and doing the Make America Horny Again tour and all that stuff, she was using this picture as a promo. This picture has been used by the media. This picture is evidence of their affair. But the problem with this picture is this picture that Jessica Drake was also using to extort money from Donald Trump in 2016 after the Access Hollywood tape. After the Access Hollywood tape came out, multiple women came out accusing Trump of sexual assault or sexual, whatever you want to call some of this stuff. I mean, this woman accused him of kissing her cheek without permission. That's her accusation. And Gloria Allred was representing most of these women. And if not Gloria Allred's daughter, Lisa Bloom, was representing the other half. Now, how can that be that Gloria Allred and her daughter are representing all of these women? Gloria Allred were representing at least 5 or 6 of these women that came out after the Access Hollywood, and her daughter, Lisa Bloom, was representing another 4 or 5. How's that happen? How's that happen? And it was all predicated on this picture. You can see in the press conference she did, when she told this story, she starts highlighting the picture. You see this picture? Now, some of these wounds that Donald Trump, that he's taking, these are self-inflicted wounds. Like, the worst decision that he could have made was stopping by this booth and taking pictures with these bimbos, because they both use these pictures. They both use these pictures to extort him. Both of them. So if you've ever been to a celebrity golf tournament, I've been to them. I mean, they're usually run by a radio station or a television station. You sell, booths and sponsorships into the golf tournament. While the golfers are walking the fairways, they're walking by your booth. Maybe you're promoting a product. Maybe you're promoting, an organization or something. But Wicked Films, which is a pornography company, was sold into this golf tournament. They had a booth at the golf tournament, is what happened. You can even see the banner in the back. It says Wicked. In this one, too, you can see the same banner. Trump's wearing the same shirt, that yellow shirt with the red hat. Same yellow shirt, red hat, the banner in the background. So Trump obviously was at this celebrity golf tournament. He walks around this booth and he had the biggest show on TV at this time, The Apprentice. These girls see Trump. Oh, there's Donald Trump. Let's take a picture with Donald Trump at the booth. He obviously takes a picture with these women. Not knowing Donald Trump, they probably didn't. This happened in 2006, 2005, 2006. You think this guy was thinking about running for president back in 2005, 2006? If you remember the interview, if you've ever seen the interview that Oprah Winfrey, let's listen to that.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not, but I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't.
So I don't think that this guy was thinking about running for president back in 2006. I don't think he had any idea. Unlike, people like Joe Biden, who's been in politics forever. Every move of his would be calculated. I mean, Joe Biden as a senator would have never stopped by this booth and taken a picture with these women, but Donald Trump did. So not thinking that he would be running for president 10 years later, but he did. And these pictures that he took with Jessica Drake and with Stephanie Clifford came back to haunt him. And like I was just saying, that Gloria Allred and her daughter Lisa Bloom were representing all of these multiple women that came out after the Access Hollywood tape. Now, the Access Hollywood tape was also the actual events in this Access Hollywood tape happened in 2005. Trump is running in 2016 is when he's running for president. So whoever had this Access Hollywood tape, they held it throughout all of the primaries in 2015 and 2016. They held it, throughout all of the early run when after Trump had secured the nomination and Hillary had secured the nomination, and they waited to October for this to come out with the October surprise. So this was all very calculated because the tape's 10 years old. So whoever had this tape, they waited until October. It was calculated to release it at the appropriate time. And then we have Gloria Allred and her daughter, Lisa Bloom, ready to go with all these women that are going to corroborate everything that is, in this Access Hollywood tape. And that is going to harm Trump with women voters. And he's running against a woman, and this is an opportunity for the first woman president. All the entire narrative's there. The only problem is that the woman that he was running against was married to a pig who actually raped women. That was the only problem. And again, going back to Littman's to 13 keys that we've been talking about in the past couple of podcasts, the way that the election works is that it's a referendum on the incumbent party. So, I mean, it really didn't matter. This Access Hollywood tape, the reason it didn't have any effect is because none of this stuff matters. I mean, even the case in New York where Trump just got convicted of 34 felony counts, none of that stuff's going to matter because this election in 2024 is a referendum on Joe Biden. In 2016, it was a referendum on the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton. So the Access Hollywood didn't have any effect. But the Access Hollywood tape was, I remember when it first came out, I had a friend of mine call me and he was like, it's over for Trump. He's done. Like this, I mean, this is a huge scandal. And I believed that it was going to be a big scandal as well, and that it could likely tank Trump in that election. And the way that they came out with these women after the fact, and how coordinated it was, I mean, it was all just perfect. Now, the Access Hollywood tape, 100%. Is vulgar. It is. I mean, it just it did not look good on Trump when this tape came out. I want to play a little bit of the tape. I mean, we all remember it, but I want to point out something as well.
She's still very beautiful. I moved on her, actually. You know, she was down in Palm Beach. I moved on her, and I failed. I'll admit it.
Whoa.
I did try and she was married.
That's huge news there.
No, Nancy. Yeah. No, this was marriages. And I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping. She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where they have some nice furniture. I took out furniture. I moved on her like a but I couldn't get there. And she was married. And all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony and everything. She's totally changed her look.
She's your girl's hot as shit. In the purple.
Listen to Billy Bush.
Yes.
Whoa.
That's your problem there.
Oh, my man. Wait, you got to look at me.
I mean, it's just interesting that a member of the Bush family, too, is involved in this. I just think that's very interesting.
Oh, my man. Wait, you got to look at me when you get out of here.
Sets this up.
That is very.
You give me the thumbs up.
You are a big.
You got to get the thumbs up. Can't be too happy.
Else off first? Yeah, let me.
It's very funny.
You got to give me the thumbs up.
You and I will walk in.
Oh, my God.
Maybe it's a different one.
Better not be the publicist. No, it's her.
Yeah, that's her, with the gold. I gotta use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her.
So he says this, I gotta put some Tic Tacs in my mouth just in case I start kissing her. I mean, all of this talk, everything that is said in this bus, Donald Trump thinks is private. Of course, it's vulgar and it is obscene. But I used to be a bartender. I'm telling you, I've listened to women talk about men and be vulgar and be obscene, or far more vulgar and obscene than Trump is being in what he thinks is this private conversation that he's having here in this bus. But the real test is when he gets out of the bus and he is in front of this woman who he's already said is a beautiful woman. Right. He's not acting like a creep. He's not kissing on her. He's not grabbing her by her privates. He's not doing any of that. He's acting like a complete gentleman who, if you have watched Trump in the public eye over the last 40, 50 years, he's always been the same. He's never been some type of creep in public. But all these stories started coming out about him being a creep because of this talk that he was having privately on this bus, was what he thought was privately. But when he's confronted with a woman, he's not acting like a creep. He's never acted like a creep in public. All these stories that they've told about him being a creep. I mean,
Oh, how are you? Hi.
Mr. Trump, how
nice
are you?
seeing you.
Pleasure
Terrific.
to meet you.
Terrific. You know Billy Bush?
How are you?
Nice to see you. How you doing,
Very
Ariane?
good.
Doing very well, thank you. Are you ready to be a soap star?
We're ready. Let's go. Make me a soap star.
How about a little hug for the Donald? He just got off the bus.
And then Billy Bush is the one who, how about a little hug for the Donald? He's the one who is being the creep, of course.
Like a little hug,
Okay,
darling.
absolutely. Melania
little
said
hug for
this
the
was
bushy.
okay.
I just got off.
Melania says this is okay. He immediately references wife.
Bushy.
Here we go.
So anyway, all these women started coming out after the Access Hollywood tape. It was 100% put together that way. They were all, again, being represented by either Gloria Allred or her daughter. Stormy Daniels was going around with this picture again. The picture is part of her promotion. This picture is part of her promotion in her Make America Great Again tour. So she was using the picture to promote her tour to different strip clubs where she was dancing the Make America Great Again tour. Take a look.
Brings her Making America Horny Again
Make
tour to
America
the Trophy
Horny
Club
Again,
for a
sorry.
one-night performance this Saturday.
Cashing in on controversy.
On the heels of Stormy's national
Cashing in on controversy is what CNN
America
said.
Horny Again tour to the Trophy Club for a one-night performance this Saturday.
Cashing in on controversy.
On the heels of Stormy's national publicized alleged affair.
That affair, according to the Wall Street
Alleged
Journal, between
affair.
adult film stars.
Look how they're just using this one still shot. This one picture is the only thing that she has. And through all of this, the only thing that she has to support her narrative is this picture taken at the booth at the golf course, the same place where he took a picture with Jessica Drake. That's the only thing that Stormy Daniels has ever had to support her story was this picture.
Star Stormy Daniels and the now President of the United States reportedly happened back in 2006 after the two met at a golf tournament. Daniels, whose real name is Stephanie Clifford, and the White House have denied the relationship, but that's not stopping this club from promoting it.
This is the Twitter storm sensation.
And on Friday, In Touch magazine published the full transcript of a 2011 interview with Daniels in which she eagerly dishes on the tawdry details of her alleged sexual encounter with Donald Trump.
So she denies that the affair took place. She says that the affair took place and then denies it and then says it. And then again, the only thing she has to back up anything is this picture that Donald Trump took with her and Jessica Drake at the booth. Now let's listen to Jessica Drake tell her story with her lawyer, Gloria Allred, right next to her. And she came out with these accusations immediately in 2016, in the fall of 2016, immediately after the Access Hollywood.
I was working for Wicked Pictures, an adult film company, at a golf tournament in Lake Tahoe. I was at Wicked's booth when I met Donald Trump in the celebrity gift room early in the morning before he teed off.
I was at Wicked's booth. That's where the picture takes place, right here. I was at Wicked's booth, and so was Stormy Daniels. She was at the booth too. So Donald Trump came in, and he took pictures with both of these porn stars at the Wicked booth.
He flirted with me and invited me to walk along the golf course with him, which I did.
Where's Stormy at this time?
He asked me for my phone number, which I gave to him. Later that evening, he invited me to his room. I said I didn't feel right going alone, so two other women came with me.
So she went up to his room. Jessica Drake went up to his room with two other women, is what she says. So it was really interesting in the trial when Stormy Daniels testified. She testified to what Donald Trump's suite looked like, the penthouse suite in this hotel. She testified to stuff that was in the bathroom. Oh, he had Old Spice. He had all this stuff, is what she said. And people were like, well, of course the affair happened. How would she know what his room looked like? How would she know what's in his bathroom if the affair didn't happen? Right here, Jessica Drake tells you that he invited us up to his room. I didn't feel comfortable going alone, so two other women went with me. So who were the other two women that went up to Donald Trump's room with Jessica Drake? One of them was Stormy Daniels. The other one was this woman, Alana Evans. Those are probably the two women. Now, I don't know that this is true, but I'm trying to put things together by these different stories that these women are telling. Jessica Drake and Stormy Daniels both using these pictures from the booth, both talking about the same golf tournament, both talking about the same Donald Trump. So trying to put it together, what happened. Also, taking some of this with a grain of salt because these women are liars. So Jessica Drake says that she went up to the room with two other women. I'm assuming that it's Alana Evans and Stormy Daniels who went up to the room with Donald Trump. With Jessica Drake and to Donald Trump's room. So let's just listen to a little bit more of Jessica Drake tell her story here.
We answered his questions. It felt like an interview. About 30 or 45 minutes later, we left his room. After I returned to my room, I received a call from a man calling on Donald's behalf. He said Donald wanted me to come back upstairs to Donald's suite. I indicated I did not wish to return.
So if Donald Trump, someone from Donald Trump's entourage is calling Jessica Drake to tell her to come back up to the suite, she says no, she doesn't want to go. Maybe he also got Stormy Daniels' number and called her and told her to come back up there, and she agreed. I'm not sure, but let's listen to Lana tell the story about what happens when Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump call her to come back up to the room or to come hang out with them. Take a listen.
Let me just ask you quickly before we go into the other things. When I said they invited you to Lake Tahoe to party, what does that mean?
Well, I was already there kind of doing my own thing with friends, and Stormy had called me repeatedly after telling me she had met Trump previous in the day. When you call me to ask me to party, and the man is calling with you, and I'm an adult film star, it probably means you're calling me for, a sexual encounter.
Wow. Wow. So Alana says that Stormy Daniels calls her with Trump on the phone and says, hey, come party with us. And she understood because she's an adult film star that her understanding was, hey, come party with us means come up for a sexual liaison because I'm an adult film star. So that's what that means. When a guy and a girl are calling you to come party with us, and come up because I'm an adult film star, that means to come up and have sex. So it's really weird that Stormy Daniels now testified that, that I was afraid, or she says that she was unconscious or something. What does she say? I don't know what she's saying now. It's all of this is really crazy. It's really crazy. And nobody knows for real what happened. I mean, there is zero evidence that Donald Trump had sex with Stormy Daniels. Zero evidence. And when you start putting all of this together, the Jessica Drake part, and the fact that Jessica Drake is coming out with the lawyer. I mean, when you listen to Jessica Drake's story, why the heck does she need a lawyer? Why? I mean, Donald Trump doesn't do anything to her at all. I mean, the only accusation that she makes is that he kissed her on the cheek and then invited her to come back up to his room after they left. That's the only accusation that she makes. Why does she need a lawyer? Why does she need a lawyer? Because if you know the story about Lisa Bloom, and who is Gloria Allred's daughter, and Gloria Allred, what they were doing is that they were making money off just selling the story. I mean, the story didn't even need to be true. They were just selling the story. Here, let's listen to have Lisa Bloom hear this part. Here, let's listen to this part. This is another girl that accused Donald Trump at that same time they came out. And this is Lisa Bloom. This is Gloria Allred's daughter.
Nor anyone from her campaign was associated with any of those offers for relocation and security.
John, no one from the campaign, Hillary, didn't know anything about it. What little factoids should she leave out in that?
Well, one of them is she will not answer whether she talked to the Clinton super PACs, which is where the real big money is in the election, right? The candidates are capped at $20.
Here, I want to start this
Super
from the
PACs
beginning.
get a lot more money.
This part.
She will not answer the question. I've asked it 100 times.
All right.
Attorney Lisa Bloom.
We are demanding that Donald Trump withdraw his statement, as effectively that Jill is a liar.
So you're saying that you may end up suing Donald Trump if he does not retract the statement?
All legal options remain open.
So what they were doing, they were just, Lisa Bloom and her mother, what they were doing was they were just going around to the networks, selling their story to the networks, and then they were taking a piece of the action. Same thing that Michael Avenatti was doing to Stormy Daniels and ended up stealing her money. So this is a grift that these lawyers have, that they act like they're representing you in some legal matter, that this woman's going to sue Trump for saying that he didn't have sex or didn't sexually assault her. We're going to sue him. But basically what they're doing is just going around to the networks, selling the story, and then the lawyer takes half or a portion and gives the rest to the woman that made up the story. Take a listen.
He thinks everybody wants him.
Right, but putting aside what he thought, but in terms of the way you reacted, in terms of what you did, you made it very clear that these were unwanted.
Absolutely.
Look at that
These were unwanted.
Absolutely.
Now, Harth has retained high-powered attorney Lisa Bloom.
We are demanding that Donald Trump withdraw his statement, as effectively that Jill is a liar.
So you're saying that you may end up suing Donald Trump if he does not retract the statement?
All legal options remain open. We're calling upon Donald Trump to do the right thing.
You filed this lawsuit. You then withdraw the lawsuit. You then deny the allegations in the lawsuit to some degree. And now you're coming forward and saying, actually, the allegations are true. Can you see why there
This is the same thing that Stormy Daniels, this woman, doesn't listen to what he's saying. She files a lawsuit and claims that Trump sexually assaulted her, retracts her statement, and then files another lawsuit again. All these women came out at the same time, right after the Access Hollywood tape. It was coordinated. It was coordinated,
Absolutely.
people.
You filed this lawsuit. You then withdraw the lawsuit. You then deny the allegations in the lawsuit to some degree. And now you're coming forward and saying, actually, the allegations are true. Can you see why there is a potential credibility problem?
I understand some people will think that way, but you have to understand, I had moved on in my life. I thought this was a chapter way past. I was on friendly terms. I didn't want to start trouble.
Attorney Lisa Bloom is now under fire after reportedly offering money to women willing to accuse the president of prior harassment. At the very least, Bloom engaged in a perverse kind of financial incentive to attract accusers, truth being a perhaps secondary consideration.
The facts are unassailable, and it is true that though she says she represented women pro bono, she had a nice way of collecting a 33% commission by selling their stories to the tabloids.
There it is.
It's unassailable that she arranged for donors, possibly related to the election, to pay these women money. And I think the women, at least one of the women, described a lot of pressure she felt as the election day got nearer for her to try to come out and make these allegations against
There it
Trump.
is.
Those are things that are not in dispute.
Not in dispute at all. And John Solomon busted them, broke this story wide open that Bloom and her mother were selling the story and trying to, they were making money, 33%, like he said, on every network where they booked these women to go and tell their story right before the election. And they just wanted them out there telling the story and trying to corroborate what people had saw in the Access Hollywood tape, which was released at the appropriate time in October so it could harm Trump in that election. And then Trump ends up winning despite all of that. despite all of that. That's what Trump was convicted for the other day, for defeating Hillary Clinton. That's what he was convicted for yesterday, for defeating Hillary Clinton. And so Stormy Daniels probably came out with that picture. Who knows what really happened between Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump, if she really had sex with him, or if she just came up to his room with Jessica Drake and Alana, and who knows what was happening. But what happened in 2016, in the fall of 2016, when Stormy Daniels started using this picture to promote her affair with Donald Trump, she very well could have been part of these group of women that were gathered together by Democrat operatives to harm Trump in the 2016 election, and very well could have been that just like we learned in the trial, that Pecker found out about it, advised Trump to kill it, and Cohen, being the fixer, went out to kill the story, and they were worried about it harming them in the election, or worrying about it, harming Trump's marriage. Who knows? Who cares? None of that stuff matters. What matters is that this was a misdemeanor charge, and the DA, Alvin Bragg, created some novel legal theory to raise this to a felony charge. And after the federal government had already decided they weren't going to pursue this case, a lawyer from Joe Biden's Justice Department left the Justice Department and went to work for the Manhattan's DA office. And that's when the case got resurrected. And they brought this case on Donald Trump, knowing that he was going to run for president and he was the likely nominee. He was just as likely the nominee when they indicted him as Joe Biden was the likely nominee in 2019 when they accused Trump of trying to dirty him up by asking Zelensky to aid in the Justice Department investigation into Joe Biden, or into Hunter Biden. These are the last days of the empire, people. This is an absolute mess. It was fraudulent from the beginning. This Judge Merchan, so the way that judges are assigned in New York, they're assigned by the county clerk, and it's supposed to be completely random. A computer is supposed to issue once the case is on the docket and it's filed, and the DA's office has charged the individual in a criminal case, then the computer randomly spits out a judge to oversee that case, to rule over that case. If Alvin Bragg had his choice of judges in the criminal case of Donald Trump, he would have chose Judge Merchan, without a doubt. If he was looking at all the judges who could possibly rule over this case, if Alvin Bragg was looking at all those judges and he was saying, which one is going to give me the best opportunity to win my case, it would have been Judge Merchan. Judge Merchan had already ruled against Donald Trump in two other cases. He had an obvious bias against Donald Trump. Do you really believe that this guy was assigned the case randomly? How could you believe that? There's absolutely no way that this guy was assigned the case randomly. The fix was in from the beginning. It was absolutely in from the beginning. I want you to listen to Trump's lawyer a little bit here. I'm almost done, and then I'm going to play us out. But this is Trump's lawyer, and he's talking a little bit about the jury selection and how jury selection went there in Manhattan.
Potential jurors. Look, was I satisfied? We put a motion in because we said we could not get a fair jury in Manhattan, and that's not a. I'm not.
So they put a motion in for a change of venue. I think it was something like 97% of Manhattan voted for Biden in 2020. 97%. So they put a motion in saying that Trump couldn't get a fair trial there, which it should have been granted. They should have gotten a change of venue. But because they didn't get a change of venue, I want you to listen to what jury selection was like for this guy. Take a listen.
Urging to the jurors, man, they were great. They showed up on time every day. They were committed. They paid attention. But we're in a situation where we had a very limited number of people we could strike, and most of the folks, overwhelming number of folks, had a very strong opinion of President Trump, and it wasn't positive. And so imagine you, Jesse, going to trial facing 34 felony counts, and 100 people walk in the room, and the judge says, if you have a strong view of Jesse Waters, you can go ahead and leave. Half the room leaves.
Listen to that.
Half the room just walks out.
And they reported that. They reported that on the first day of jury selection, that the very first question that they asked is, can you be biased, or do you have a bias against the president? And half the room raised their hand and said that they were honest. Half the room were honest and admitted to the fact that they had a bias. And then you only get 10 strikes to strike the ones that are lying about their bias, which I'm guarantee you, they're of the half that didn't say that they had a bias. I guarantee you that at least half of them did have a bias, and you have to use your strikes at that point to weed out which one of those people who lied about their bias and get them out of there. It was completely unfair. It was an unfair jury pool. It was an unfair trial. It was an unfair. Everything was unfair. Everything was unfair, and it's going to be overthrown on appeal. I'm going to play us out, but I want to share this picture. This is a picture that Democrats are now sharing online, and these 5 black women make up the appellate court in New York. And this guy is a Democrat podcaster. He, advocates for everything that the Democrats do and Joe Biden, and he's giddy. And other people that are sharing this, they're all giddy. This is new. Trump's appeal or arguments will take place in front of the first all-black women appellate bench. And people are sharing this, and they're all giddy because they're anticipating that there's no way that 5 black women can give Trump a fair trial. So, I mean, I guess they think that it stops at these women. I don't think that they understand that Trump can take this all the way to the Supreme Court if these women are not fair. But for some reason, they're like, oh, this is awesome that 5 black women are going to preside over Trump's appeal. And there's no way that he can win the appeal because these women can't be fair because they're black. And what you see going on in this election, we'll get back into this in the next podcast, because Joe Biden was bleeding before this verdict. He's hurting bad with young voters, with voters of color, brown voters, black voters, mostly men. The polls aren't great, but you know that we don't look at the polls here. Even if you're looking at Lippman's 13 keys, it doesn't look good for Joe Biden. And even though he has pierced Maximus in the side and concealed his wound with his armor, and he has taken that advantage, he's still losing. He's still losing. And nothing that happened in New York yesterday, in that verdict, and the 34 counts on Donald Trump being found guilty, none of that is going to help Joe Biden, because this election is a referendum on him. And it doesn't matter how much he dirties up Donald Trump, it's not going to help him. Nothing that happened yesterday is going to get more black men to vote for him. It's not, I mean, so he's still in the same predicament, quite frankly. I have a lot more that I want to share with you guys on Monday. I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you on Monday.